All righty. What's up, guys? It is January 24th, 2022, and welcome to Car Biz Leaders Live. It has been a while since I have done my show, and I have a very special guest for you today. Her name is Zahira Khan. She is the Area Vice President for GM Remarketing, and she is, well, I like to say remarkable. So we have a great show today. We're going to be talking about diversity, inclusion, um, bringing people together, networking, all kinds of fun stuff, success, and of course, her personal take on the car biz. So without further ado, welcome to our new episode of Car Biz Leaders Live. Let's do this. All right. It has been a while since I had my little thingamajigger. So this should be amazing. Well, hello everybody, and I brought my dog to work today. So Archie, say hello, and he couldn't make up his mind whether he wanted to be in my office or out. So everybody, say hello, Archie. And of course, if you hear something barking in the background, of course that's my dog. Without further ado, I'd like to welcome my guest, Zahira. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm super grateful to have remarkable women on this show, um, being represented in the automotive industry. And you and I have got to become friends. And I'm just really grateful that you decided to join me today. So thank you so much. How are you doing?
I am doing great. Thank you, despite the snowstorm behind me. So last week we had 60 centimeters, so that is 2 feet of snow here, and then we're adding another foot today. So it's a nice light blizzard out there. We're getting ready to go out there and shovel away.
Oh, yeah. Did you see that 9-year-old on the news from Canada where he was like shoveling out and he's like, I want to go back to school? He was like done having snow days. So that was pretty funny. So tell us a little bit about who you are and a little bit about what you do and how you are related to our car business.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you for having me here and inviting me. It's an honor. It's been a pleasure working with Rachel so far. We've been working on a committee together for IRA. I've been in the industry for approximately 30 years. I started off, my journey was really, and excuse my computer wasn't logging on to the site, so I'm just holding my phone. But I started off as a receptionist working part-time in a dealership. And I learned so much from that, and I stayed at the dealership for almost 8 years. A part-time job, making myself, go through school, earning a couple dollars, ended up a summertime job, ended up a full-time job because there was nothing out there in the field that I graduated from, and then that started my career in the automotive industry. So I did warranty work, I did accounts payables, I dealt with the dealers and the sales reps fighting for commission on every dollar. And I started off when they had these big green and red ledger books, and we were just going on to the system. So that's how old I am, and that's okay.
But you don't look it, darling. You don't at all.
But every opportunity that I had there, it allowed me to grow and learn the business from that perspective. And then what I did is I had a chance to move to the automotive finance piece of it, where I worked in funding and probably worked in different spaces along there. So I did like remarketing. I did also the IT piece of it. I did funding and contracts, and I also did residual value insurance. So worked in that for a couple years in analytics as well. So never afraid to try something different, whether it was lateral or upward movement, but that allowed me to grow. And then while I was on mat leave, and in Canada, we get a year off mat leave. But when I came back, there was an opportunity to be a manager in a department, and then that's how I started my journey on the other side of the management side of it. So, and then the last few years, I've been deeply engaged on the diversity, equity, and inclusion areas of automotive as well. So that space is just really growing and important, I think, to this industry. When I went to dealerships, it was mostly not representing the individuals that the customers were coming in as, and now that's changing and that's evolving. But making sure that we have women represented there as well, and people of color, people of different nationalities and language barriers, and all of these things. So, which makes it a lot easier for and comfortable for people to come in and do business with us, right, in the automotive space.
Yeah, I think everybody has a little bit of a bias to when they're as salespeople, I would say, maybe, and it's just not on purpose. Maybe it's just a even if like somebody came in sweatshirts and a t-shirt, right? Like, oh, well, they don't have money to buy or whatever, when we always joke that everybody at the auction is a millionaire dressed like a hobo. So there's bias towards that about how people
Absolutely.
look when it comes to whether or not they're ready to buy. And I think that prevents a lot of people from making really sound choices. So you spend a lot of time in the dealership, so you kind of have this like unique perspective, and I have a lot of friends that are dealers out there. So what, with all the challenges of car buying today, what do you think dealerships need to do to kind of, protect themselves from, um, you know, what do you think they need to do with the chip shortage going on in order to be successful this year?
And I think the chip shortage is going to go for a little longer. It's not going to be solved within the next couple of months. So I think inventory is trickling in for most dealers. But I think the other thing is that used car inventory that you get at the auctions is really critical to jump on that. There's some great value there, some great 24-month leases and 36-month leases that are coming back. A lot of off-fleet vehicles being available. So just ensuring that you're retaining that customer and providing them some options. A lot of manufacturers are extending their lease extension programs, changing um, the way that they do business. Generally, lease was you return it, but they're allowing the option to retain that customer to have lease to finance options available as well. So new things on the horizon for different manufacturers, and they're evolving as well in order to deal with the ship chargers, making sure that they want to keep those customers coming back to their dealership.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. You do more marketing for the Canadian side, correct?
Correct.
I have a question for you. So, if people were looking to buy directly from Canada, how how would they go about doing that? I mean, like, I know a lot of guys are into that or want to buy direct, but usually they may go through another Canadian broker.
Yeah.
How would you suggest people go through and buy direct from Canada?
Yeah, I'm probably not the best person to speak about it, but you're right. You definitely would need to get through a broker.
Okay.
Some American buyers have direct auction links, so they do
Mhm.
buy directly from ADESA or Manheim locations. So they can do that as well. So probably get in touch with them to be able to ensure that you've covered all of your bases, and that those vehicles are available to be sold in the state or the country that you're going into. You're taking them in. There was some restrictions for a while that you could only take vehicles manufactured in the U.S. And selling them
Mhm.
in the U.S. So that was one of those things from an import perspective that needed to be considered. So what I think has changed is really those laws can change and they can be interpreted differently. So best to probably get in touch with a broker or the auctions themselves who can guide you through that process.
Sounds fantastic. Let's say hi to our bestie Max Clem. And I don't know if you are familiar with him, but Max is like the biggest he's been in the car business longer than you have, which is a very long time. So he's got you beat there. But hey, Max, thank you so much for watching. It's super appreciated. He says happy, magnificent Monday to everybody. So thank you so much for watching us today. And if you have any questions or want to pick Zahira's brain, let me know and we'll get you guys going there too. So tell me a little bit about, we got the new year going. He says, hi, girls. Thanks, bud.
Hey, Max.
Tell us a little bit about, some of your goals for, the new year and what you would like to see come out of it in terms of like the automotive industry and your personal, professional, maybe financial goals that are setting you up for success for this year.
So from a professional perspective, I really have implemented my DE&I initiative. So anything that I've learned is really now holding myself accountable and holding others accountable within my organization and making sure where I can have a positive influence. So whether that's in the meetings that I conduct, whether I see certain things that happen within the organization, the applicants that I have when I'm interviewing for positions, making sure that I have a broad, diverse group of individuals. And then even when you're doing succession planning and things like that, then making sure that everyone is represented, everyone has an equal chance, and that everyone's gotten the opportunities. And then also to participate in as many focus groups that I can, resource groups, and just to make myself more educated in this space, because I think one
Mhm.
of the things that we can always do better is by having a different perspective. This area is dominated by older males and not a lot of different fresh ideas. And I think where we need to change a little bit of that is changing some of that mindset and saying, hey, um, TikTok. So take TikTok for example, is the standard for a lot of individuals now. Even most middle-aged ladies, as you would say, and it's a diverse perspective. How Go on to TikTok and you can advertise on TikTok. You can learn on TikTok.
Mhm.
So you have individuals who, as if you're a salesperson or if you're someone who's marketing to a different group, can start utilizing some of these new platforms and things like that and not be, oh, we only do LinkedIn for business reasons. I think we just need to diversify our thoughts and then really listening to the individuals we hire. There's some great individuals who come into this industry but will leave because it's an old mindset of not enough work-life balance.
Mhm.
Putting in 20 hours a day was the common theme of the automotive industry. But, things have changed. People realize this pandemic has taught us that being home, being with the family is just as important. And we can learn from that as well.
Yeah, I definitely think that there needs to be more flexibility. Although, the reason why I think the car business was all about this is because it was like, that's when you're going to make the money. And I feel like more and more dealerships are, um, coming to a point where they realize that they shorten their hours, people are still going to come to them, and giving their employees a little bit more flexibility.
Yep.
Um, at the same time, like, you know, I still have I still have to be available to my customers, like my situation is a little different with retail, like, right? Like my customers are dealerships and, you know, they're still in that mentality of 20 hours a day. And so it's like, hey guys, can I get a break too? So, and some days it's just not going to be like that. So, it is kind of what, I think people are more understanding if you're not always available or always on. I still think people have a very high expectation of service and they want, and then of course the competition and of course with the chip shortage and everything like that. So I think there does have to be a little bit of balance, but I still think that there needs to be somebody covering. Maybe not, you don't need the whole crew in, but definitely need some strong players that can be available at times to help out. Um, Quick question for you. You were talking about what I'm very interested in the um, you said holding people accountable and showing up. And I always, as a manager, a boss, a CEO, and I think a lot of people out there would like to know, like, how do you hold people accountable? Because I think we all have a different approach to management, and we all kind of want to get that, we want to get the result, right? And I think sometimes trying things different ways and learning from other people. So tell me about your accountability process.
So if I'm looking at it from a perspective of, say, and I was referring to DNI, or even in a meeting, is really having an open communication line. I think that's the most critical piece. Is really setting your expectations right from the beginning. Is to say, okay, here's what I need you to do. What is preventing you from doing it if you're not meeting those metrics? And they have to be realistic metrics, whatever that is. And then if someone is not, is just having some of those difficult conversations. I think we all tend to shy away from those difficult conversations. Uh, but I think that's where we need the practice, is to ask the whys. And, 7 whys will get you the answer generally that you need. Is it something that's system related that's stopping you? Is it something at home that's why? And they'll come to the realization themselves. In terms of a DE&I, if I saw someone being in a meeting, and generally a lot of times what happens is, say, someone, and I'll just say a gentleman may speak over a female, or kind of quote unquote steal their idea. um,
Mm-hmm.
what's probably good for the other individuals in the same meeting is to advocate for the original person who brought up the idea. So, say for instance, if someone was talking, and then another person, say Steve, came along and said, oh yeah, that's a great idea, I like that idea, I'm going to implement it, but people will forget that, hey, Rachel brought that up. And the way to conclude that is, well, Rachel made a great point, glad that you agreed to her point as well. And then just making sure that the person who actually came up with the original idea gets the credit for it as well. So certain things like that. And then if you hear someone speaking, those are common ones, that, the obvious ones, but those are the uncommon ones that you should just make sure. And that when you conduct even meetings, is that everybody has a voice. So when you know that there's someone who's dominant in the group, and that if they go first, no one
Mm-hmm.
else is going to be able to speak, let them have the last word, and giving them less opportunity, like of time wise, still hearing from them, but letting everyone else hear. So you could start with, hey, I'd like to hear from Max and Rachel first. Let's change it up a little bit, and then conclude with, hey, okay, now Zahira, we got a few minutes left. I know that you have a lot of a lot of quality things to say, so not to dismiss anything they would say. And what would you like to add to that? So allowing everybody else to have a thought prior to. So I think that helps with the conversation as well.
Yeah, I've had, just being in my role so many times, seen my ideas like even get spit back out at me.
Oh yeah.
Like, and you know it's yours because it's a word that you like, it would be like an unusual word that they didn't have the vocabulary for. And you said it like 5 minutes ago and now it's coming back at you. And you're like, oh, and you just know that that was your idea and it was being literally spit back at me. And I was like, I came up with that, right? Like, that's my, you're trying to tell me something that, like, that was okay. So there's been many times that that's happened to me. I'm sure it's happened to you as well.
Uh,
Or if you've definitely seen it, obviously. So, we've come a long way, but it's very interesting how that still happens, you know. Um, just interesting. Anywho,
yeah, I think we've come a lot further than, when I first started in this industry to now. I think there was an individual who one time she was a senior executive, and she had told me, you were invited. So I came into the meeting room and I stood on the side thinking that they're senior people to me who I wanted to find out where their seating was going to be. And she said, why aren't you sitting down? And I said, well, I just want to wait till everybody gets a spot. And she said, can I tell you something? You were invited. You're here to be heard. Make sure you take whatever spot you got here early. You don't need to move. And so that kind of set the tone for me. And I kind of remember that each time. Sometimes I'm a little bit nervous going into a room, or oh, maybe I don't belong here, or something like that. We all have that kind of feeling once in a while. But if you were
mhm.
invited, be present, right? You were invited for a reason, and someone respects you, and someone wants to hear from you. So show up. They're giving you that respect, so give them that respect and be confident when you come there, and be informed, be prepared for any meetings that you are invited to, right? So that you are then invited back, right? You want to be invited back. You want a seat at that table. So,
And you definitely deserve to be at that table. I love it. So my last, like, kind of in question, because I've been writing these down, so I've been taking little notes on our um conversation, but you mentioned the 7 whys, and I kind of wanted you mentioned, like, is it something at home? Is it a system thing? I'm sure a process is another one. Um, so is it a system issue? Is it a personal issue? Process? What are the other four that you would
yeah,
say?
and I mean it depends on every situation. So you could probably start by think, if you're having a conversation where someone's not meeting their goals. Well, why do you think that is? And then if they say, oh, it's a system thing, well, why do you think that the system is slowing you down? Well, I don't know how to, and a lot of times I don't understand the system. Okay, well, why didn't you ask for some training or extra needs? Okay, yeah, you're right. I should do that. I should have asked for more training because I didn't understand it. Well, I wasn't able to get in hold of the dealer principal. Well, why weren't you? What time were you? And then when you ask that question, you'll hold them accountable, and they'll be like, well, I called them. Well, what time did you call them? Well, why weren't you able to get a hold of them at that time? Well, they usually come in the afternoon. Well, why are you calling in the morning if you want a meeting with the dealer principal? So I think it's just those just a little bit more prodding questions that they came to the realization themselves. And then it's just and then as an advocate for them, it's what can I do to help you get to where you want? So
Mhm.
what is it that you want that's stopping you from being your best self? So some people will say, hey, maybe it's a person who talks a lot who sits beside them. Well, maybe that's something easy that I can do is change spots for individuals without being obvious about it, and seeing if that changes something, and if there is a issue with that. Some people get distracted quickly and can't stop someone. So there's little things that I can do to help them. If there's a system issue, maybe look at different system softwares that we can do to help them do their job better.
Mhm.
If there's some manual processes, I think your subject matter experts come up with the best ideas sometimes. They just don't know how to implement them or don't know where to even start, but they'll say, oh, well, what about this? And then that can get your, brain cells thinking and get a group together, and you start the process that way to help them. But it's all about listening and being present for them.
I love that. And I think that is so important. And I love the drill down too, because I think some people are like, oh, um, a lot, or, once in a while. Like they don't ever get specific. And I think, it helps people engage if, you're drilling down and you're really listening to them. I call it like listen, repeat, ask again, you
Yeah.
know, and I think that is so important to let people know that you're listening. And then it helps them to just really think about what it is that is causing the problem. Because when you're causing the problem, if you don't know what the problem is, or you can't get down to like the nitty gritty, then, you know, we can't solve anything. You can't fix it. So I'm all about the problem solving. And I love that idea so much. Okay. So we're going to wrap up pretty soon here, but I would like to know success tips. Give me two success tips. Two success tips for our audience. I need it for the day. I don't care what platform it is. I want to know your success tip. It could be a quote. It could be a tip. It could be like
Mine is,
something you
is,
did.
is just reading and learning. I just, I order books and always try to be a better leader. How I can help that way, so that I'm helping individuals. But just continuous learning. If you implement those things that you learn, even if it's one or two things, something's going to stick. And keep yourself current. You can't be reading a book from 1980, because it may be outdated. So make sure you're current with what the corporate cultures are like now, what people's expectations are, and different ways of addressing different things. And then also, success is always, learning other things too. So whether it's keeping yourself current, so whether it's UX or software systems, all of those things. So it's just education at the end of the day, that you can help others and help yourself as well.
And we can do a little plug for IARA too, and come together and network and learn that way too. So,
Absolutely.
um, definitely thinking about all the industry events out there, and bringing people together to get educated. I think that's like hugely important too. And, especially for those people that don't like to read, but I love to read. That's not me. I got to know what book you recently purchased, and I'll
Oh,
share mine.
I'll have to. It's on my bed sitting. So,
She doesn't remember it. Here's
yeah.
mine. Whatever it takes. I highly recommend this book. This is a great book. I don't know if you can see it, but it's a great book. And highly recommend that. My friend recommended that I read it. I read a book, probably reread it, study it. I'm all about that kind of stuff. So, all right. Well, if you can't remember that one, because it obviously wasn't okay unless you would remember the tip.
I'm still reading it. So I am probably the worst with names and the worst with
Well,
titles of books.
yeah.
So.
You don't have one that sticks out to you that is like change your life?
And no, I think I take a little bit from everything that I've had, and I go through them quite quickly. All the different, they're all named very similar too, right? I like Simon Sinek's Why too, right? That one is a good one. That we've read at a corporate level as well, which is good. It gets into the nitty gritties of why do you do things the way you do in a corporate culture. And and he has on Instagram, and he has some TED Talks too that I would probably recommend from a leadership perspective too, if that's the items that you're looking into. It helps you little tidbits for yourself.
Oh, I'm always on the tidbits. I'm always on the tidbits, and I do a lot of training and development, and I think that is, I try to invest in myself. Like honestly, like my asset is my brain, right? Like
Yep.
so I want to make sure that it's sharpened, my sharpened my saws at all times. But thank you so much for coming on and sharing the love for a little bit and being on Facebook Live. And like I said, we'll probably have, a few people watch this one. But in all honesty, I love this show. It went by so quickly. And I'm just so grateful for your friendship and your time. And any like parting comments that you would like to make before we turn this bad boy off and go
Yeah.
hang out together.
Thank you for having me, and it's a real honor. And anyone new coming in the industry, just network and try your hardest. It's a great industry to be in, and the world's your oyster in this one. So there's just so many branches in this. So keep on going, and always out there for anyone who needs any little mentorship or anything. We're all available. And what Rachel said is join your committees, and that's a great way to reach out to people and learn from what they've experienced in life as well.
Well, thank you so much again, everybody. Zahira Khan, Canadian represented. What's up? And I'm sure that she cannot wait to go out and dig out of all that snow. So thanks again for your time, and we'll see you guys next time on Car Biz Leaders Live. And listen, if you guys are interested in becoming part of the show, message me, like, subscribe. We need support, and we're grateful to have you on. So thanks again for another great show. Thank you so much. I'm so grateful, and hopefully I can get this thing to go without being a hiccup. But Zahara, thank you so much. Awesome. Appreciate you.
Thank you very much.
Will it work? Will it work? It wants to go forever. Can I play this thing?